Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the infinite, ever-expanding multiverse of fandom. I don't know why I'm speaking in slow motion, but from movies, comics...
This isn't the Snyder Cut.
Hello there. That's how I should have started this.
You should have started it with, this is where the fun begins.
We did that. We did that bit like 3 weeks in a row.
Well, we're doing it again.
What are we talking about here? Movies, comics, TV shows, video games. I'm Rob. I'm here as always with Court. Court, it's a big week.
It is a big week.
Because we're here to talk about...
Daredevil.
Nope. That's not it. That's not the one.
I tried. It didn't work.
We are here to talk about and recap the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. The controversial show?
Apparently. I didn't know it was going to get this bad. And I
saw Star Wars fans can't mind their business?
Mm-hmm. We talked about this last week. If everybody just takes a deep breath and realize that there's characters like Babu Frick that exist in this universe you're so bent out of shape about.
The best characters.
As
we talked about last week.
Yeah, we did. Why do they keep pairing us together?
But why do they keep pairing us together? But before we talk about Obi-Wan, we have a pretty limited news schedule this week as opposed to last week.
Yeah, we had all the news.
Now we have no news, but one constant, as always, Top Gun. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we're just going to keep talking about this.
Yeah, make sure you get Top Gun on the whiteboard, on the golden whiteboard that we have.
Until it stops making money, because last week we talked, was it 800 million?
800 million.
About last week? And then, so now it's over $1 billion.
And you know what's the craziest thing about that? It's going to be 4th of July on top of that. That movie might hit like 1.3, 1.4 if they're not careful.
Yeah, it's not slowing down.
No, it's not. Just like, I can't give spoilers. I want to give everybody time to see this, even though this movie came out like almost a month ago. They don't slow down.
I can't believe it. It's unbelievable that this movie has this kind of staying power. Like, it's wild. Yeah.
This movie's it's the perfect storm. It's the absolute perfect storm of like storytelling, spectacle, like characters, and just, where we're at. Like, it's the perfect movie. Like, this movie is going to come out in a time frame of Memorial Day, 4th of July, Father's Day. Like, this is the perfect movie for the perfect time. So, I know the whole thing is delays. Delays are bad. Sometimes delays need to happen. Delays are good. And this is the prime example of it. And I couldn't be happier. It's tough, man. It's still, teetering with everything everywhere all at once for my favorite movie of this year. But if I just need that thrill ride, you watch Top Gun. I can't wait till this movie drops on whatever streaming service it comes out on. I might, to be honest, if it's 4th of July and I'm not doing anything, I might go see it again.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those movies that you can go and see twice, 3 times, and enjoy it each and every time because it has that just injection of just adrenaline.
And that third act, when that third act kicks
in
wow,
recent memory that I can remember.
Yeah, agreed.
It's just crazy.
It's the stuff. That's it. They
Obviously,
did it.
It's only one of 2 movies that have hit $1 billion.
In the pandemic, I'm pretty sure.
During the pandemic, yeah. That and Spider-Man No Way Home.
I'm surprised.
So no Batman, no Doctor Strange. Although Doctor Strange, the asterisk there is that it didn't release in China.
Right.
Or the Middle East,
right.
Which,
would have secured it its $1 billion.
Yeah, easy.
People love John Krasinski.
But it's... What? He was in that?
Oh, yeah, this character's back. He was what?
He what?
He what?
I watched that movie, by the way, again.
Me too.
On Disney Plus.
We forgot to talk about that last week. That movie came out on Disney Plus on last Wednesday. Still pretty good.
I like it a lot.
I just love the stylizing of that movie. So good. I really like what Sam Raimi did with that. Yeah. That scene where he's kind of like repossessing like the Darkhold demons is it's so good.
It's really good. Hopefully, I don't think Thor Love and Thunder is going to be a problem, but hopefully they just let these directors start running a little bit more wild with this.
Yeah, and apparently Thor Love and Thunder is letting Taika Waititi do that kind of, I think for Sam Raimi it's more of a visual thing, but for Taika Waititi it's more of like a comedic and more heart thing, so I think that's going to be very prevalent of what I've been hearing from, you got to take the the premiere screening with a grain of salt because obviously
everything's the best thing ever.
Yeah, everything right is just it's either the best thing or like really bad. But this one seemed like I have a lot of hope for this. Like
Me too.
I said it before. If you didn't like Doctor Strange because you're used to like this nicer kind of way of consuming a Marvel movie, I think that Thor: Love and Thunder is going to be what did they say in Doctor Strange? The antithesis to this. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the Book of Ashanti to Doctor Strange's Darkhold. Don't open the Darkhold.
Don't open the Darkhold.
Open the Book of Ashanti though.
Now you can't open either book.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Wanda.
They're both destroyed.
You suck, Wanda.
I guess, these two universes kind of go hand in hand. So Sony's Spider-Man universe is still going. So last week we talked about Kraven. This week we're back talking about Madam Web.
Yep.
Emma Roberts has joined the cast of the Madam Web movie.
Cool. I don't know anything that's going on.
Like, who are these people playing?
Who knows? It'll be fine.
We know Sydney Sweeney's in it. We know who's
Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson's playing Madam Web.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a Barbie situation? And you thought I wasn't going to bring up Barbie, but I found a way to. Because apparently in this Barbie movie, it's like there's a whole bunch of versions of like
Barbie in the Multiverse of Madness.
Essentially, right? So is this movie the same thing? Is it like different versions of Madam Web?
It could be. Didn't they say that this was supposed to be like the Sony version of Multiverse of Madness?
I think so. I think that was one of the sells like early when like they announced this movie, but I wouldn't be surprised if like one of them, I don't know who it's going to be, probably maybe Emma Roberts would be a better fit for this, but one of them to play Jessica Drew.
Yeah.
That was the only other thing, like the only other character I can think about that was like of name that would be in this movie.
It's a pretty good trio of actors.
Right.
Right. These things aren't casted poorly. There's good actors in these movies.
Right.
It's just
why?
They don't look. They just gotta embrace what they are.
Yeah, Venom
did this.
Yeah.
Venom figured this out. And Morbius accidentally figured it out.
Right. And then they purposely did, and then we were like, we're not laughing with you guys, we're laughing at you.
And then Kraven the Hunter is coming out.
Who knows?
Who's not a hunter anymore.
Yeah. But I have trust in Aaron Taylor Johnson, though.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
It's just...
I don't know.
You never know.
You never know
with Sony.
Yeah.
It's like spinning a roulette wheel.
Yeah. And usually it doesn't land.
No. So last week we talked about how there was the surprise development at HBO that there was apparently a Jon Snow sequel series in the works. We have a little bit more detail on that. Apparently this is Kit Harington's idea.
Wow. He's got a lot of power.
Yeah, he brought this to HBO. He brought it to George R.R. Martin, who signed off on it. So I don't know what George R.R. Martin's involvement in the show is going to be. Emilia Clarke pretty much confirmed all this, that he told her about it, and like this is his brainchild, which I think is super interesting.
Me too. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Clearly, I think it flags to me that he clearly has more in mind for this character other than where he ended in Game of Thrones, and has some sort of idea for it. Like we said last week, we didn't know a ton about where the show came from. So, as far as like story and stuff, but apparently Kit Harington's got some ideas, and what are they going to say? No?
Yeah. Kit Harington walked over with his Disney money. And he's like, you guys see this? You guys are going to get a lot more of this over the next couple of years. So make my show.
Yeah. It's super interesting to me.
You think that this is just going to be like, everybody's going to come back, but this is just like Kit Harington said, let's just keep it going for a little bit?
I think there's going to be a time jump of some sorts.
Old man Kit Harington. Oh, that would be kind of cool. That would be kind of...
Logan, but it's Jon Snow?
Yeah, Logan, but it's Jon Snow. Hey, man.
And he's got his wolf with him?
I think that's an amazing idea.
Like, just Tales Beyond the Wall, featuring
Jon
Snow and
what happens? Yeah, what happens if he has to go find Arya Stark, but, like, because she's traveling by the end of Game of Thrones? Like, that would be interesting. Like, what up? We're old now.
Two things. You gotta have Ghost in it, and you gotta have Tormund in it. Those two things, those two characters have to be in this show. And then after that, do what you want.
Yeah,
do what you want.
Have fun.
And then the last bit of news I got is one of those news items that comes in like right before we do this. Ghostbusters Afterlife is getting a sequel.
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Afterlife.
Took your joke.
Yeah. Ghostbusters Afterlife is happening, which I guess makes sense. I think when we talked about the movie at the time, we kind of figured this was going to happen.
Yeah, and I mean,
and that they were going to kind of phase out the old Ghostbusters, and that this next movie was going to focus on the new crew. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that makes sense.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I thought the Afterlife was a pretty solid entry.
It was very good,
and it was really surprising. I love the filmmaking route they took to it. It felt new. It felt new aged, and then it definitely did an amazing job. Like, we talked about these legacy movies. That was probably it. As Top Gun was probably the best legacy movie that I've seen personally.
Yeah.
I don't really count Spider-Man No Way Home in that, because it doesn't really feel like a legacy movie as much as like just an entry, that's with the other characters in there. I think Afterlife might be the most underrated legacy movie that we've seen. Like, I think it's a pretty great entry, honestly, and I really enjoy it. So, not surprised one bit. And I'm definitely looking forward to what they kind of have to offer with this new cast.
Yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home isn't. I wouldn't say it's a legacy movie, because legacy movie to me, like Top Gun, for example, like blends the old story with the new story. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man No Way Home doesn't really do that, because you don't get really. I mean, I guess you get the moment with Andrew Garfield's Peter where he sort of gets like a moment, like a closure moment.
Right, but that's more like a redemption versus like an actual story beat that continues something. Yeah, right.
Unless, they end up doing something with him in the future. Which
we might be wrong on.
We might be.
Yeah, because that lost so much steam over... Because you got to think you would have heard something by now. Unless they're waiting till San Diego Comic-Con. Hey, let's add another piece of news that I just thought of on the fly. Marvel's coming back to San Diego Comic-Con. They haven't been there since what? 2019, where they announced Blade.
Yeah.
Where Mahershala Ali was like officially like, because 2016, I believe, was Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, and like that was the big one, and then 2019 was like the last one, obviously before the pandemic. But the big thing was, I think we got the Eternals cast there. Like we got the Eternals, we got some other stuff, and the big thing was Mahershala Ali as Blade.
So what are we thinking then? Fantastic Four?
I think we're gonna find out who the Fantastic Four are. I think that's gonna be like the big thing, and it's gonna, because they haven't been, and obviously we've been living through a pandemic for the last 2.5 years. But
yeah.
On top of that, I just think that would be the mic drop of all mic drops to get the Fantastic Four cast.
That would make sense to me, yeah. And
then we're probably going to get what Kevin Feige talked about. I think we talked about it a little last week, where we're going to know what the next we're going to know what the new Infinity Saga is. Yeah. Obviously, it's probably going to be Secret Wars, but I think it's going to be more of like a formal, realization of what it is. And it's probably going to get announced, like what the new slate is and like what the big threat is. So.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Probably going to be Kang. Might be a little bit of influx of Doctor Doom, but I do think we're going to find out if John Krasinski's playing Reed Richards or not. I think that's what people really want to know, including myself.
People are down on the suit now, I see.
I don't even want to get into the ridiculous nature of that. It's ridiculous. Obviously, it was probably short timing, so they couldn't get a real suit. Black Bolt's suit wasn't real, that we just found out. It was CGI.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
Nobody cared. Nobody cared. Yeah, nobody cared. It was fine. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
All the news.
Speaking of internet freaking out, Star Wars.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Star Wars the last couple of weeks with our Revenge of the Sith kind of retrospective, and then last week we just were like, hey man, Star Wars is fun. Here's all the fun things about Star Wars. That was that episode, and then it all leads to this. So the Obi-Wan Kenobi show was one of the most, probably when Disney Plus was first announced, gosh. This was like the thing that like everybody wanted.
Yeah, it was like it was right.
McGregor.
It was the Marvel shows. It was like because when that happened, it was like, oh crap, we're getting Marvel TV shows. Because at first they were like, what are these Marvel shows going to look like? And they were like, oh, it's going to be your main characters from the movies are going to get their own, little sects of, time for their story to develop. And then the other side was Obi-Wan Kenobi's back, and we were like, what? In a show? Not a movie? They're like, yep, a show.
Yeah, but the interesting note about that is this was apparently originally discussed as a trilogy of films.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
I just don't think this has enough time to breathe as a trilogy.
It has trilogy beats to it.
Sure.
Like, I could kind of see where those kind of divides would have been. And, we'll talk about as we kind of walk through the show, but this was one of the most anticipated shows of the Disney Marvel Star Wars thing. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen were announced as coming back, which set the internet aflame. And then, off the back of that, honestly, is where I think the anticipation and kind of what people thought this show was going to be kind of got screwed up a little bit. I think there were certain expectations that this was going to be like a spiritual kind of sequel to Revenge of the Sith, and it is that.
It is. Trust me, in my opinion, it is that.
It is that.
I don't know where this gets lost.
But then, not just that, but like people thought we were going to get stuff like throwing back to like the Clone Wars, and bringing that to kind of live action. It's not that.
No.
It's a self-contained story told across 6 episodes that deals with the mental and emotional trauma of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker.
And I think that's the number one misconception about it's the whole
and introducing a few new characters along the way.
This is the whole ideal with this hype culture kind of that everybody kind of predicates themselves, and we're guilty. We're not innocent of this.
No.
However, I think we have pretty level heads, and I think what I'm getting at is I think everybody wanted every episode a lightsaber battle. Every episode a character can't. That's not how it works. You want I like this show. I really like this show. I think this show is a perfect example of having this hermit-esque version of Obi-Wan, because we've seen Obi-Wan we've seen him in Rebels, but he had a specific thing that he was doing, and then obviously you see him in A New Hope, and then we see him last in Revenge of the Sith. This is supposed to be the worst time by far the worst time of his life. He can't get in contact with Qui-Gon. He just lost his brother. It's not even the fact that he lost his Padawan, that's one thing, but it was like his little brother just turned to the most evil force in the galaxy. This show was always going to have a very melancholy tone to it. It's going to be dark. It's not going to feel great. So I love that approach. I like the approach of having it a little darker, a little bit more somber. I think that's very important.
I mean, we can segue that right into the kind of the first episode. Mm-hmm. I mean, it opens with Order 66, kind of a really harrowing scene.
Yeah.
You get a lot more of... it was a lot of implied kind of violence in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin stormed the temple, but in this opening of episode 1, you get the full package. You get Anakin coming, obviously Hayden Christensen is back here, and you get him storming the Jedi Temple. You see him cutting down.
He was doing what?
What?
He was storming what?
The Jedi Temple.
Oh, okay.
Not the other thing.
That's like 3 weeks I've got that joke off. It's great.
And yeah, so and then, it's funny, it feels like the show got a little WandaVision-y with things. They're like, well, why are we seeing this thing? Wait.
Right.
Wait for it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to use the term common sense, but think about it. Why would you have this whole show? This show is going to save everything it's got for episode 6. It's a 6-episode miniseries.
A lot of the shows do this.
Right.
I mean, we talking about Game of Thrones earlier. Game of Thrones notoriously has these, when it was kind of the 10-episode arcs before the seasons got shortened, they would always save that penultimate episode, that second to last episode, as this gripping, really crazy kind of episode. And then the finale for Game of Thrones, at least, would be some craziness might happen, but it's more or less a setup for the next thing. This show follows a very similar pattern. Episode 1 leads. It's weird how structure works. That episode 1 bleeds into episode 2, bleeds into episode 3, and so on. So you get to the last one, and then you're like, oh, episode 5 and 6 were neat. Yeah, because it's predicated and built upon what the previous 4 episodes did. So yeah. And then, we get the Order 66, and then we get...
Can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Really well-made scene, and I've talked about it before, I'll say it again, the Order 66 is it's the snap in the MCU. It's the moment where everything changes, and it's every time you see it, I don't care what version, Fallen Order does it really well, this does it really well, the Clone Wars does it really well, Bad Batch does it pretty well, and Rebels does it pretty... every form of media that's not the Skywalker saga that does it, it's so well done. Yeah. It's so dark. The entirety of the universe has just been upended, and every time we see it, it's just so gut-wrenching, and just the camera work too is really well done, but just it's such a heartbreaking scene. Every time you see it, it hits you. Every time. Does not matter.
Yeah, and then we obviously get to quote-unquote present day, and the Inquisitors are out there. People are familiar at this point with what the Inquisitors are, what their purpose is. If you're not familiar, they're basically Darth Vader's personal Jedi hit squad, essentially, that they go from planet to planet, hunting Jedi, and no Jedi higher on the hit list than Obi-Wan Kenobi,
yep.
who is still out there. Vader knows he's still alive. We don't see Vader until episode 2, right?
Yeah, the end of 2, yeah.
Yeah. And then even then we don't see him fully suited.
No. And that's on purpose. Again, It's the same thing. Like, they're not gonna waste everything in the first 2 episodes. They want it to be this. We already know he's Darth Vader, but they want it to be this emotional reveal because we already know what the physical reveal is gonna look like. But it's gotta mean something.
Episode 1 I wrote in my notes. It's the stage setter episode for the state of the world and who our kind of point of view characters are. So we're introduced to Reva in this first episode, who is a main point of contention.
Probably one of the most interesting Star Wars characters we've gotten, period. I mean, over the 40 plus years of this universe being alive.
Yeah, so what's the actress's name? I'm sorry.
I forget.
Moses Ingram?
Yes, Moses Ingram.
Yes. Yep. She's tremendous in this.
I think she's good.
Yeah, she obviously this is a character that is newly introduced to Star Wars, and that's kind of her kind of arc in this show, is figuring out what her deal is. And I think some people, I think maybe more than were possibly vocal about it, kind of pegged early on why we were shown that Order 66 scene.
Right.
And Reva's character, I think those two things.
A lot of the camera angles in that Order 66 scene were focused a little central on one of the younglings. So. She's hunting Obi-Wan, even though she shouldn't be. People don't want her doing that because they think she's like overstepping bounds, but her goal is like she wants to move up the ladder. And when you're in the Sith and the dark side of the Force, how you move up the ladder is ruthlessness. Yeah, and she is ruthless. From the first time we see her, she's more ruthless than the Grand Inquisitor, than the 5th brother, like all of them. She's very
Khan
much
from Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Didn't see him a lot in the show. I thought we were going to see him a little bit more. He was there a good amount in the first 2.
He was there as I think he, eventually what you find out what Reva's story was, but I feel like he's like the embodiment of like what she would normally be, like that person who just wants to move up the ladder and like serve Darth Vader. So we're introduced to this concept that they're hunting Jedi. So there's a Force wielder in Tatooine who's not Obi-Wan, and he's like, crap. So he goes, this is where we're introduced to Obi-Wan proper. And the guy's like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And he's like, get lost. So we're introduced to this really jaded Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's taken on the Ben persona, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Get out of here.
Leave me alone, before you get everybody in trouble.
He's like, I know you're Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's like, even if I was, I can't help you.
Even if I was, shut up, man. Just keep it pushing.
Even if I was, I can't help you. Like, I'm doing something that is more important than anything. Like, I can't. I just can't. And then, we're introduced to Uncle Owen, who, again, is a nicely developed character.
Yeah, and I like Joel Egerton. Joel Egerton, he's probably on like my top 10 favorite actors in Hollywood that work today. Like, he's so great in everything that he does, and I love his kind of, standoffishness to Obi-Wan.
It's justifiable.
It is justifiable because from his perspective,
the Jedi are evil.
The Jedi are. That's one. Cross all the references we were gonna make to the Revenge of the Sith fight. We're gonna get all of those in. But yeah, he doesn't. It's almost to the point he really doesn't like this guy because he's the reason that I know he probably gets satisfaction out of raising Luke, but Luke has a real father, and you got to think that weighs on Owen a little bit, that he's not this kid's real father and that he has to live with this for his life, that he possibly, him being in this order kind of turned him, and that he doesn't want anything to do with him. I mean, obviously, because guess what might happen? He's got the same power set that his father had, and look what that led him to.
Yeah, so Ben's kind of outset of this. Like, we finally figure out what Ben's kind of purpose for watching over Luke is. And he's waiting for Luke to come of age to train him to be a Jedi.
Right.
And Owen's like, absolutely not.
Nope.
Absolutely not. Like, get lost, basically. Like, just leave us alone. Like, he needs to be raised as, like, a regular kid. And that's the end of it. Like, isn't that the best possible outcome for all this? Is that Luke just grows up a normal kid, and he's happy, and that's it.
But with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, so...
And with great responsibility comes a pretty cool lightsaber.
Eventually, Reva twigs that Obi-Wan's somewhere around here.
She can feel it, yeah.
So she rounds up everyone in the town square, and she's like, "Where is he? Where's Obi-Wan?
Where's the trigger?"
She threatens Owen, and Owen has like this crisis of conscience moment, and he protects Ben, and he's like, "I don't know anything about any Jedi," and then lo and behold, she ends up finding the other Jedi.
Benny Safdie. It's Benny Safdie.
Strings him up in town square for everyone to see. Brutal.
Yeah.
It's a really brutal kind of moment. Invokes a lot of kind of fascist imagery too, which is the kin to the Empire. Is that
if you guys didn't know Star Wars was political, well, I got news for you.
And then basically we're introduced to what becomes the main plot of the show, which is it's a surprise, it's a Star Wars show, so it's an adult and a child team up.
They Logan this for a little bit, which is pretty cool.
So we're introduced to child Princess Leia. Not clear on, I forget the actress's name real quick.
While you look that up, Jimmy Smits is back.
Vivian Lyra Blair is just absolutely magnetic.
I think she's great.
As young Princess Leia.
Too. Yeah.
She channels her inner Carrie Fisher in a lot of this.
Yeah, and when this dropped, I know people were upset. They were like, "Oh, we gotta suffer through a insufferable kid that just breaks the." I'm like, that's exactly what Leia would do. That's Leia down to a T. She's just so against rules and does not follow anything. She's
not like a true royal.
Oh, it gets paid off so well in the end of the last episode. Oh, it's so good. It's real good.
Jimmy Smits is back, as we said.
Goat.
And then he's like, "You better not go out running around, Leia." And she's like, I'm gonna
do that.
And then she gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
as she is wanting to do. So Jimmy Smits bites his tongue and he calls up Obi-Wan. He's like, "Obi-Wan, you need to get Leia back." And Obi-Wan's like, "I can't. I can't leave." And Jimmy Smits is like, "Look, I know you're looking after the one, but this is the other one." And Obi-Wan's like, crap.
They might be a dyad in the Force.
Yeah, he's like, all right, fine. So that's our inciting incident. Leia's kidnapped, and Obi-Wan call to action.
Yeah, he gets finds his and Anakin's lightsabers.
Yeah, but he's not gonna use them. Not really willing to use any of his Force powers. First of all, he's kind of severed from the Force. Second of all, he knows using the Force, using any type of Jedi weaponry would incite the interest of the Inquisitor. So he's going to do this as low-key as possible. Segue to episode 2. He ends up on this weird Coruscant-looking place. It's not Coruscant, it's like Coruscant adjacent.
Yeah, it's like Coruscant mixed with whatever that planet is. In what planet am I thinking of? From episode 2. Were they on Coruscant in episode 2? That was Coruscant?
Yeah, it was like the lower city of Coruscant. This is a totally different place. Yeah. It's like some type of transport
hub,
hub place, hub world. So he goes there. He's introduced to Kumail Nanjiani's character, who is this, you think he's a Jedi, but he's a snake oil salesman essentially, who he has a he's a morally gray character, but his heart's in the right place. He tries to help people get off world. And
you got to think that Obi-Wan, his just presence kind of inflicts a little bit of good in him, which he does with most people.
Yeah. So and that's the second episode. I mean, not a ton happens. I mean, you get this chase kind of sequence where he's looking for Leia essentially. Yeah.
Small world building bit that I liked. We get one of the clones, which I think is pretty cool. Tamora Morrison is back. It's literally like a 10-second cameo, but he's like a war veteran that's living on the streets, which is very reflective. I think that's a pretty neat bit that they threw in there. And like I said, it's a good way to show you where this world is now. Look how the clones are treated now. Look how much the Empire's inflicted its reign on top of the galaxy.
At this point, the clones have been annexed from the Empire. They're not the stormtroopers. They've just been dealt with. The stormtroopers are now conscripted. They're regular folks.
Ewan McGregor's daughter's in this?
Yeah. Yeah, she is. So Obi-Wan's looking for Leia, and he enlists the assistance of Kumail Nanjiani's character. Meanwhile, Reva is on the prowl. She's like, I got him. I got him. He's here. And the Grand Inquisitor's like, don't.
Right. Well, you find out that Reva's the one that kind of sent out those bounty hunters to kidnap Leia in the first place.
Yeah, because she's trying to trap Kenobi.
Right.
It's all ploy.
Mm-hmm. But how does she know this? How does she know any of this?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get into this sequence where Obi-Wan ends up with Leia, and she's like, "Get away from me, you creepy old man," basically. And he's like, no, I'm like here to help. Your dad knows me. And she's like, if my dad knows you, like, how come I've never heard of you? It's, it's the typical back and forth. And he's like, just get, just come with me. She's like, nope. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to level with you. I'm a Jedi. And she's like, get out of here.
Heck no, there's no Jedi around here.
She's like, make me float then. He's like, what? He's like, absolutely not. And then boom, game, set, match. Reva's here with the Inquisitors. And she's like, hello, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Come on.
Yeah. Come with me if you want to live.
Come with me if you want to. He's like, nope, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Then we get a pretty extended chase sequence. You get the Jedi Fallen Order moment where Leia falls and Obi-Wan has to use his force powers. And she's like, oh my god, you are a Jedi. He's like, I tried to tell you. And then Reva, we get another chase sequence because now we got to get on a ship and get off this planet.
Yeah, but right before that, where Reva's got him pinned, we get the moment that he's probably been fearing this whole time. She tells him that Anakin's still alive, and I'm telling you, Ewan McGregor, that guy can act, man. He can act. That just dead look on his face when he finds out, that moment of like shock and anguish when he finds out that Anakin's still alive. It's just, oh man.
Yeah,
you feel it.
She's like, Anakin's alive, and he's looking for you. Yeah. And then Obi-Wan eventually escapes with the assistance of I forget what Camille Nanjiani's character's name is. Is it Haja?
Haja, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Haja, yeah.
But right before that, Grand Inquisitor gone.
Yeah.
Peace out, man.
And a lot of people were real mad.
Yeah, they were. This breaks canon. I was like, you understand this is 6 episodes, right?
Yeah, give it
a second.
Give it a bit.
Yeah.
Give it a bit. Yeah. And then we see, Obi-Wan, we get a close-up of Obi-Wan. He says Anakin, and then we cut to Hayden Christensen in the back of the tank. Getting ready.
Man. Getting loose.
He's getting loose. He's getting warmed up, which paves the way for episode 3, which Obi-Wan and Leia kind of they're due to meet like a resistance group that's going to help Leia get back to Alderaan. We get an introduction. So he lands on this world and he's like, see, we got... Obi-Wan's very jaded. Yeah. I don't know.
The prosperous world of Alderaan. Nothing's going to ever happen to Alderaan.
Yeah.
It's going to be there forever.
It's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine.
So he gets back to this weird other kind of a farming, mining kind of world. I like the world exploration in this show.
Me too. I think it's really good. That's
we
really
stayed
well
off the
done.
sand planets for the most part.
You're not happy.
But we started on the sand planet. See, this is what I was talking about last week.
Yep.
This is where Rise of Skywalker screwed up.
Yeah. Got to start on a sand planet. Got to start on a sand planet or a snow planet. Or Coruscant. Yeah. Those are the only 3 variables.
See, this show started on the sand planet. Good.
Yeah.
See how that works?
Mandalorian. Started on a snow planet. Started on that. See? Episode 2 started on Coruscant. Maybe the Coruscant ones aren't as great.
But so we get Obi-Wan in this world, and he's like, we got tricked, yada yada. Leia's like, let's go.
And right before that, like the opening of the episode, it's a mirror that's kind of mirroring. It's the the kind of ascension of Darth Vader on a day-to-day basis. He's woken up out of the back to tank. He's kind of reliving, all the traumas of his life. He's getting suited up, and at the same time, Obi-Wan's kind of trying to reconnect himself back to the Force. Yeah, and that's like, but the only thing he can think about is Anakin and what happened on that fateful day in Mustafar.
Yeah, and so eventually they get picked up by Zach Braff as an alien. And he's like, come on, guys, get in my truck and I'll take you wherever you need to go. Yeah. And then the camera pans and there's like an Empire thing on the back of his truck.
And they're like, crap.
And you're like, oh no. And he's like, man, the Empire is so great. Look how great the Empire is. And Obi-Wan's like, yes, the Empire is great.
Right.
James
Earl Jones is back as Darth Vader. Sort of. So I think you brought a good point. Is it a mixture of... I think it might be a mixture of kind of Hayden Christensen's voice and James Earl Jones' voice.
James Earl Jones kind of AI'd in.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's elements of that because there's certain things that Vader says that evoke a lot of Hayden Christensen emotion, but it's the James Earl Jones voice, which is pretty good. And so Obi-Wan and Leia get taken to this checkpoint, and oh no, they've been betrayed, and the probe droid IDs Obi-Wan. So now here we go again. Here come the Inquisitors, and Vader's like, I'm coming with you this time.
Yeah, you guys can't do anything right. I'll do that. He pulls a Thanos. He's like, fine, I'll do it myself.
And like, Sun Kang's character's like, you better not tell Vader. Reva's like, I'm gonna. And he's like, oh, yes, very good. Thank you, Reva, for telling me this. And Han from Fast and Furious is real mad.
I do like that little bit that they have where Vader walks in the room, like, all mad. Like, man, you are right. Everybody's real aggressive this episode.
And then, so we get the appearance of Indira Varma's character, and you think she's an Imperial, but then she shoots a bunch of stormtroopers. One stormtrooper gets chucked off a cliff.
Yep.
And sliced through a laser barricade.
Yeah, because that needed to happen.
So that was pretty good. That was a good bit. And she's like, come with me, Obi-Wan and Princess Leia. I work for the Resistance. And then they take him into town. And then guess what? Darth Vader's here.
Oh, man.
Just...
Man.
If it's anything, I know people want to give Disney grief for a lot of things, but everything that they've done with Vader has been just perfect. Just, this is
Ever since Rogue One.
Yeah, and so she takes Obi-Wan inside to this little kind of safe room, I guess you could call it, and, there's messages from other Jedi of the past.
What was the Jedi that we got? I forget who it was. It was it was a pretty...
Yeah, it was notable.
Yeah.
Just basically Jedi that have come through this place in the past and left little, like, inspirational quotes that you'd see, like, on a high school bathroom stall wall.
Do your best.
Empire sucks with an X.
Yeah. Vader was here. Like, just some little fun stuff.
And then, well, guess what? Vader is here.
Yeah, Vader is here. This guy is ruthless.
Terrifying.
Wow.
Terrifying sequence.
I love it. Like, it lends more credence to the fact that Darth Vader, that is the big bad. He is the big
He's one
bad
of the greatest villains of all time.
It's just point blank period. This guy walks into this town and just
starts killing people. Indiscriminately.
People. Yeah. Doesn't
men,
matter.
Women, children.
Yeah. Not just the men, but the women and the children.
Has his neck snapped and he's thrown against
That was the one I was like, oh wow, this show just took off. Wow.
And Obi-Wan's just like horrified.
Yeah, he's like, Leia, you gotta
go.
Yeah. I'll take care of this. Get her to Alderaan.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Alderaan blows up. Oh, wrong spoiler.
What?
What? Wrong spoiler.
Spoiler alert. He doesn't got this.
No, he doesn't.
So, yeah, episode 3 gives us the first confrontation between Obi-Wan and Vader. And it's incredibly one-sided.
Yeah, it is. It's not even remotely close.
A lot of great moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing. If Anakin Skywalker was powerful, imagine Anakin Skywalker with the dark side on top of him. Like, this guy
should have killed me when you had the chance.
It's so good. There's so much fear in Obi-Wan's in Ewan McGregor's face. It's such great.
And Vader's like, you suck. Like, you suck. You're past your prime, old man.
He's got like American Eagle cuffs pants. That doesn't mean anything. It just
the future's now, old man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's just on his back foot this entire time, and Tala's like, I gotta go help Obi-Wan. Right. He's gonna get killed.
Yeah. We get, again, one of the most brutal scenes I've seen in Star Wars. So, essentially, Vader ignites the ground on fire, and then he just wants to recreate what happened to him.
Anakin, just over dramatic.
He is over dramatic. I love it.
How long was he planning this fire?
Oh my gosh, forever.
He was like, man, he was probably had the Grand Inquisitor in the room with him one day. He was like, and then I'm gonna set the ground on fire.
And the Grand Inquisitor just not trying to die. Be like, yo, that'd be pretty sick, man.
He's pretty sick. Man.
Yeah,
you should
dude,
totally do that.
You should totally do that. He goes back. He's like, guys, you'll never believe what I did. I did it.
So yeah, he drags Obi-Wan through the fire.
Now you will suffer, Obi-Wan,
as I have suffered. And that James Earl Jones voice.
Yeah. Hits.
It does make sense that it was AI because I think we have talked about in Rogue One, he sounded like a man in his 80s. He sounded like a man in his 80s. Like, no disrespect at all to the legend.
Yeah, James Earl Jones, yeah.
But he definitely sounded like, a man in his 80s, whereas in this, it sounded like they pulled him from a time machine.
Right.
So and then we figure out that it's an AI kind of constructed thing. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense because he sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, So it's a brutal scene, and then Tala shows up. She shoots the fire out, and Vader's like, "Go get him!" But he knows they're not going to get him.
Right.
You think Vader, as smart as he is, would just know that the stormtroopers suck?
No, he couldn't know that. How long has it been? 10 years? 10 years in Star Wars is like a year. It's not. He hasn't fully acclimated yet. He'll learn.
So Obi-Wan escapes, and
But somebody doesn't.
Leia. Yeah, so she goes to escape, and then Reva's back.
Reva's back.
And she's like,
somehow General Reva returned.
Somehow Reva returns.
Yeah.
And she takes Leia back to the underwater kind of bit that we see most notably in Jedi Fallen Order.
Right.
I was glad to see that place return.
Yeah.
I like that place. It's like the Inquisitor kind of headquarters.
Yeah, Fortress Inquisitoris, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's not Vader's. It's like Vader's like secondary kind of base.
It's just like when he needs to crash, he goes there.
Yeah, it's not the Mustafar. The Mustafar base is his full base of operations.
That's his crib.
Yeah, he loves that place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. Or he hates that place.
Yeah. But it makes sense.
But hate is good if you're using the dark side.
Yeah, so he just, the source of all pain and anger.
Yeah.
So episode 4 is essentially a rescue mission. Mm-hmm. We're going to rescue Leia from...
It's almost like this show mirrors the trilogy. Interesting concept, because episode 4 feels a lot like episode 4.
Yeah, it does.
Interesting.
So yeah, we're introduced to O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character in episode 4. He was cool.
Yeah,
I'd like to see more of that character in the future.
Yeah, I think he is going to be somebody that he might be kind of how Forrest Whitaker's character was in Rogue One. Like, he might pop up in something else down the line.
Yeah, like that character is cool. He's like very, I think Obi-Wan says it to him in episode 6, the beginning of episode 6.
Yeah, Galaxy needs more people like you.
You're a leader, people follow you. I like that character a lot. And he's like, look, we're stretched thin. We're not soldiers. But Obi-Wan's like, look,
you're gonna have to be.
I have to get this girl. They're like, the fortress is impenetrable. Famous last words of any fortress ever.
Right.
Is this the episode where Reva's promoted?
I think so, yeah. I think they find out the plan. Like, Anakin. So I keep saying Anakin because it's so close in time, but Vader. I think Vader finds out like what her plan is in this, because they find out that they've been tracked as well. They tracked Obi-Wan, but that's way down. That's the end of the episode.
That's the end of this episode.
That is the end. But the beginning of this episode starts with Obi-Wan in the bacta tank, and it's again another nice mirror between him and.
You want a good flashback trauma sequence? Bacta tank.
Yeah, get in there, reflect on your life. It'll be good. But it is really well done, because it's supposed to show like, I have to live with this, with these burns that aren't even horrible for one day.
That just hurt.
Yeah, Anakin has to live like this every day of his life.
And I cut his legs off.
And one of his arms. Man, Anakin got messed up.
That was off one swing, too.
That was off one swing.
Obi-Wan is a savage.
He is a savage. Oh, you just wait. You just wait.
So, yeah, he's like, look, all right, I gotta get back into game shape here. Because that guy kicked my ass. Left, right, and center. Like, this is real bad. This is a real bad situation. And, he's like, all right, get me into this fortress. So we do the Jedi Fallen Order bit, basically where they get Obi-Wan in through the underwater part, and he's in, and he's looking for Leia, and the Inquisitors around, and the Stormtroopers around. It's a real dangerous situation, and Tala's helping. She's good. I like
Tala. I thought they were gonna
yes.
Where did they get all the Star Destroyers from? Episode 9. I give Star Wars a lot of leeway. There's not a lot of leeway in episode 9.
This is, this episode's an example of that, honestly. There's a lot of goofy, 1970s shenanigans that go on in this episode.
I mean, when this episode, I think we had, a nice back and forth when this episode came out, because we were like, do people not realize what the 70s and 80s of Star Wars looked like?
This was so dumb.
Yeah.
But in the best way.
Yeah.
Like, you have Tala, just lying her way through this entire Imperial base. Yeah. And they're like, what are you doing here? And she's like, you dare question me? I'm an officer. And they're like, oh, yes, of course.
Let her through.
Man, right this way.
Right. As if Han didn't do the same thing in the Stormtrooper costume in episode 4. Like,
everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine.
She's hacking computers.
Yeah.
She gives the one guy a good old-fashioned, basically Star Trek, double fist punch.
Right.
Basically to knock one guy out and drag him behind a thing.
Yeah.
It's such a goofy episode, but I liked it.
Me too.
But there's also some not so goofy moments.
No, there's...
Because Obi-Wan stumbles upon some real terrible stuff. He stumbles upon basically the crystallized bodies of these other Force users. Men, women, children. There's a youngling there that still has the training helmet thing on. And Obi-Wan's like, what the is going on here? Like, Vader is real, like, Anakin's...
He's lost it. He's completely... He's gone. He is gone.
Meanwhile, Leia is just wheeling and dealing, like, not breaking in the face of Reva's kind of... She's not quite torturing her. She tries to use the Force on Leia at one point.
So Reva has one of the other Force abilities that not everybody has. I think that Kylo Ren also has where she can kind of look into your mind.
Probe into your mind,
I watched that scene from 7. Oh, that's a real good scene with him and Oscar Isaac.
Yeah. So she tries to do that, and it doesn't work on Leia, which is a nice bit of kind of Star Warsian lore there behind, Leia and who she is. And even Reva's like, all right, you're not like an ordinary child. This is odd.
You got something, kid.
So she takes her to the big chair, the big chair with the big pointy thing. She's like, all right, now you're gonna get. He's about to get his soul sucked. Mortal Kombat.
Jeez. Didn't think that was gonna be in this episode, but look where we are. Jeez. Cool.
I love that movie so much.
Yeah. It's not a birthmark, Cole. Means you were chosen. We got to review Mortal Kombat one day.
We do.
Yeah.
So yeah, Leia's in the big chair, and then here comes Obi-Wan. Yeah. He's here. Cuts the lights off, and
this is comical. This episode is comical. I love it.
Does the big clap on, clap off with the lightsaber. Yeah. As he's cutting down stormtroopers. Stormtrooper armor. Much more resilient in this show.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. They stopped mass producing. They had inflation in the galaxy after the Empire took over, much like us.
It takes Obi-Wan quite a few lightsaber swings to put these guys down.
Yeah, they got cheap in 4+.
Yeah, so he rescues Leia, and then the escape is on. Tala's cover is not quite blown. She lies to Reva too.
Yeah, and Reva's still... Obviously, Reva doesn't fully believe her, but at the same time, Reva's like, I just want Obi-Wan. I don't...
Well, she was, on the cusp of, getting her, and then, the alarm sounded. Again, it's, a tropey, comical thing. Of course, the alarm sounds. And then...
Yeah, Obi-Wan outruns the ocean.
Yeah, we get the literal Fallen Order bit, where they're being pursued by stormtroopers, and I think there's a couple of Death Troopers there.
Yeah, there were. You think they would fix that after Fallen Order, but who knows?
Yeah, and he brings the wall in, uses the Force, so this is his big kind of hero moment where he gets reconnected to the Force, and he uses his big Force power to bring the weight of the ocean into that room, kills all those stormtroopers, and Reva's like, oh man.
They do the coat thing.
Oh, the coat thing. People have problems with the coat thing. I loved it.
It's hilarious. And it's so stupid.
It's the sneaking a person into a movie theater under your trench coat.
Not only did they do that, it's not like Obi-Wan was covering his face. His face was wide open.
He just had a hat on.
And the coat, and two of the Inquisitors walked right by him, and we're like, all right.
I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then they escape.
Yeah, they do escape.
We lose one.
Almost. They almost didn't.
Yeah, we lose one of the pilot folks in this skirmish, and Obi-Wan gets away. Reva's real mad about it. And you know who's madder than Reva about it?
Ooh.
Vader comes in.
What did I love.
This is where the Hayden Christensen comes out of. You were warned.
Yeah, I love. God. I love the way he walks into any room. It's so menacing. It's so good.
And yeah, she's like, wait, before you murder me.
Before I'm murdered, like the younglings.
I put a tracker on his ship, and he's like, oh, very good. That's what I would have done. And then Sun King's character's like,
dang it. I'll never be the Grand Inquisitor.
And he's like, all right, Grand Inquisitor, you got another shot at this. But you better bring me Obi-Wan Kenobi next time. And you better tell me where he is. All right.
Now we're on to the Empire Strikes Back of this whole thing.
Yep. So episode 5, it's the classic, we're in a place, we have to hunker down in this place until we escape. So a lot of this is basically one location. It's in the little hangar. They're like, we can't get away. The door's broken because Leia's droid got hacked and shut down the whole thing.
Right. But before all that, Oh my gosh. That opening. Literal chills from that opening.
Yeah, so this is what everyone was waiting for.
Yes.
The flashback.
The triumphant return of Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker.
Attack of the Clones Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, but he's the same age as he is now. I think that's supposed to be more of like a mental thing of like...
Yeah.
This is how he'll always be Anakin to him. Doesn't matter if he wants to put on this Vader persona. It doesn't matter. He's still always going to be Anakin Skywalker.
It's really good.
Oh, it's
I enjoy it.
And what this does, it's such a smart thing.
And here's the thing about that, real quick, is, people wanted this every episode.
That's right.
But this moment wouldn't have felt as special if it would have been interspersed across every episode.
The show had gotten so dark up to this point. I think we needed to take a step back and look at like the broader scope of not just physically but emotionally, like where we are between the two of them and how far they've fallen between the two of them.
Yep. So we get, it's basically, this flashback is interspersed across the whole episode.
Guess where they are? They're on Coruscant.
Yep, it's a sparring match between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Anakin's like, I'm gonna get you this time, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's like, you will try. And yeah, this whole flashback is interspersed, and it cuts to Vader, during the flashback, insinuating that, he's the one, having this flashback.
Right, thinking about it.
And, so we hunker down. Leia starts asserting her authority.
And guess what? Right before that, boom, you're the Grand Inquisitor now. Congrats.
Yeah. Here's your badge.
Now,
get out there.
Yeah.
Get out there and get me Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah. And so they're like, man, the door's broken. Classic Star Wars.
They did the thing from The Last Jedi.
The door's broken. We got to fix the door. Leia's like, I'll fix the door. They're like, absolutely not. You're a child.
And you're a princess and a child.
And she's like, mind your business. Get me a ladder. It's great. I love her.
That's exactly. I don't care what age Leia is. That's exactly how Leia would act.
Yeah. I mean, she asserts her dominance all over in episode 4. So this makes sense. And yeah, so that's they're basically got to hold off in time before, everyone shows up. And then guess what? Everyone shows up. So Reva lands with heaps of stormtroopers. A big gun. It's a big gun.
The biggest gun.
The biggest gun they could find.
Yeah.
She's
until episode 6.
We're firing away with the big gun. Obi-Wan's like, we gotta hold them off. And they're like, we can't hold them off. And Obi-Wan's like, you're right. I'm gonna go talk to Reva.
Yeah, I'm gonna go level with her for a little bit.
Yeah, and then this is where the other shoe drops. And he's like, how do you know that he's Anakin? He wouldn't have just
told you.
He wouldn't have had a name tag on.
Yeah.
I'm Anakin Skywalker, folks. Hello. She's like, and then he's like, oh, hold on a second. That flashback in the first episode.
Yeah, it was pointed on one character.
You were there. Dun dun dun.
Yes.
Reva was the youngling in the first episode. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. That flashback had relevance to the plot.
This is what makes her probably one of the most interesting Star Wars characters that's ever been created.
Her whole mission was to become an Inquisitor, get close to Vader, and as Obi-Wan says, you're not serving him, you're hunting him.
Yeah. You want to take him out.
And Reva's like, mind your business.
Yeah, this is
because
it's got nothing to do with the old man.
From her perspective,
the Jedi are evil. Man, what is that, 3? We got 3.
Because she feels that Obi-Wan abandoned the kids. Which, yeah, I mean, I get that. He
was trying to take care of Grievous.
He was riding a big lizard.
Yeah. Come on, give him some slack. You know who you don't want to give some slack to? Yoda. My man Yoda pieced out.
And Mundi.
Why do you always bring him up?
I don't know. He was more concerned about the Wookiees on Kashyyyk than he was.
What about the Wookiees?
He was more concerned about the Wookiees than the younglings.
Yeah. So much so that he made Yoda go there. He's like, Yoda, hear me out, man.
Yeah, so we get this, that's the shoe drop moment. Reva's like, look, you're right. I want to get to him, but I don't need your help. You failed. You were his teacher.
You were warned.
You brought him. I mean, he was warned.
Yeah, he was warned.
Him and Qui-Gon both. And he was like, yeah, you were warned. And she storms the palace.
She did what?
She's in with the stormtroopers and kills heaps of people.
Heaps.
Tala dies in a heroic thermal detonator sacrifice. And then Obi-Wan's like, that's it. All right, I'm surrendering to him because he'll stop all of this.
Yeah.
If if I go out there.
Yeah.
They're like, how do you know? He's like, I just know.
I just know. And I mean, more important, and what's great about this episode, I mean, you talked about it at the beginning, those flashbacks, they mirror what the state of the episode's at. Like,
yeah.
Anakin always thinks his fighting style is aggressive. It's tough. It's
he thinks
powerful.
He gets the one up. Yep.
Yeah.
And then so Obi-Wan goes out there. He surrenders after Tala's death, and he tells Reva basically like, "Look, we're gonna work together a bit here. I'm serving him up to you because he's gonna come down here to confront me, and then shoot your shot, basically." And, you know, that's what happens. Vader lands and he's like, where is Kenobi? And she's like, he's in there. And he's like, I'll finish this myself. He goes in. Kenobi, like, does like a little fisticuff with a stormtrooper. He gets away. And then the ship takes off right as Vader gets in. And then Vader does a Star Killer. Pulls the transport ship down, rips it in half, and then they're like, whoop, gotcha. Gotcha, Darth Vader.
Right, just like in the training montage right before that Obi-Wan eats to the point where they're training, his lightsaber's gone.
Yeah, Anakin disarms him, and he's like, that's it. You lost your weapon. And Obi-Wan's like, whoop.
Takes his...
Gotcha.
Yeah,
and he's like, you know, you're a great warrior, but your arrogance and your lust for power will always kind of be your downfall.
Your anger and your lust for power.
I've already done that. And then Vader's like, you got me.
You got me. You got me.
You got me. And then Reva's like...
She tries.
Her sneak skill was not on 100.
Nah. It's like when you open up Ghost of Tsushima for like the first time and not like the 50th time.
She ignites her lightsaber and Vader stops it with the Force. And he's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, come on. You know I'm emotional right now. Come on.
He's like, did you really think I didn't see this coming? And he's like,
you knew this was coming, Pete.
Like, I gotta give Obi-Wan props.
Yeah.
He was smart to try to use you against me. And she just goes on.
You turned her against me? You have done that yourself.
So, the Grand Inquisitor, I guess you can call it the Grand Inquisitor. Reva has this just rage-induced fight. I guess you can call it a fight. Vader's not really trying.
Nope.
He's using the Force.
Again, it just shows you how powerful he is.
Yeah, he's using the Force basically to deflect all her lightsaber blows, which I've never seen before.
Which I think is pretty interesting because I think they used it in the Rise of Skywalker.
Sure.
Yeah. Where did they get all the Star Destroyers?
Yeah, he's using and then he she does a little spinny thing with her lightsaber, and he just stops it with the Force, and then he breaks her lightsaber in half, and he's like, I'll take this bit, you take your bit, and we'll have a proper duel. And then he just annihilates her.
Yeah, it's not even close.
And then somehow...
hello.
Somehow, the Grand Inquisitor returned. And he just wipes it away, and he's like, you know, man, vengeance will just... make you want to stay alive.
You know what's the funniest thing about the Grand Inquisitor coming back? It's the fact that he had that interview on one of the Jimmy shows, and then he's just like, I got 2 stomachs. See you next week.
Yeah, so he's back, and Vader's like, did you really not think I knew who you were? Did you really not think I'd see it, youngling? And she gets real terrified, and she flashes back to like when he stabbed her the first time. She's real resilient this one. And then he stabs her again.
Where is she from? That she can be stabbed just like 8 times in her lifetime.
By Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah. Just never done. This guy can't finish the job.
And then Grand Inquisitor takes his little badge back. He's like, I'll take this.
Hello. I love that when he walks up. Hello.
Hello, Grand Inquisitor.
Don't mind if I do.
And yeah, so Vader leaves her for dead, and she sees the little hologram thing from Bail Organa that says, like, get to Tatooine and protect Luke if he finds out about the children. And she's like, children? Interesting.
Children? Plural?
And then Obi-Wan kind of senses that something's wrong, and O'Shea Jackson's character's like, is everything all right? He's like, yep.
We're fine.
And then we go to the finale.
Yeah.
The best one.
Make your point about Luke Skywalker. It's hilarious.
What, that he...
It should have just been Mark Hamill?
It should have just been Mark Hamill?
Not DH Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill should have just played a 10-year-old. It would have been much funnier.
Yeah, so we get to the finale, and this is all, once again, leading to a big confrontation.
Yeah.
So Obi-Wan's like, look, we're gonna die. Because there's a Star Destroyer after our little ship. And he's like, if I get out of here, Vader's gonna leave. And he's gonna pursue me. And O'Shea Jackson's like, how do you know? He's like, I just know. He's a big teary goodbye from Leia. She's like, don't leave. Like, you promised that we're all gonna leave together. And he's like, look, I gotta go. So
I'll take it easy. I'm out.
Yeah, so he goes. And he tries to get in touch with Qui-Gon one last time. And he's like, look, I'm about to fight him again. And he's real scary.
And then back on Tatooine,
Yeah.
God.
Reva's there. She's alive.
She's
Somehow
looking
Reva
real.
returns.
Yeah, she's real rough. She's in horrible shape, and she's just at this point she just needs to take out somebody. She wants to kill anybody she can find. So she needs to die.
She points her target at Uncle Owen and Luke Skywalker because an eye for an eye. I get justice. Right. I believe is how that saying goes. So she wants to kill Luke essentially to get back at Anakin, even though Anakin doesn't. Does he know?
I don't think Anakin knows, but Reva has to know that Reva these children means that. Right.
So that's why she's hunting Luke. And then, so basically those are the two set pieces of this entire episode. Obi-Wan lands on the rock planet. Vader follows. And it's on.
Oh my god. And I mean, again, this fight wouldn't have been as triumphant as it was if there had been like 4 fights before this. It just wouldn't have felt the same.
He goes, are you going to kill me, Obi-Wan? And he goes, I'll do what I must.
And then they remix it. They don't really...
He does the 2-finger stance with the lightsaber up. He's like, I'm ready to rock and roll. And then, so I said this to you when the episode aired. I said, I like this fight better than the Revenge of the Sith fight.
Whoa!
It's more deliberate. It's less flash. It's a perfect mixture to me of an original trilogy fight and a sequel trilogy fight. Like, everything is so deliberate. These two look like they're genuinely trying to kill each other.
And I think even more, it looks like Obi-Wan's trying to kill him versus in the Revenge of the Sith fight. It did feel like, again, Obi-Wan felt very, surprised as to this all going on. We talked about it last week. I just love Obi-Wan's perspective when he drops in on Mustafar in episode 3. It's just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I fought a guy that had 4 lightsabers and that was a robot.
And Vader's like, your strength is returned. He's like, excellent.
But you're still an idiot.
But you're still a foolish old man.
Yeah.
Force push.
You were an old man, a fool. You didn't think I was going to talk about Thor 1 in this.
And then he buries Obi-Wan beneath a bunch of rocks.
And Obi-Wan's just like, remember that time you told that Padme that Obi-Wan was as smart as Master Yoda, but as powerful as Qui-Gon, or as Mace Windu?
And then while this is happening, Reva arrives on the farm. Beru and Owen are strapped up.
Yeah, apparently Owen didn't know who he married because Beru's just like,
Beru's about that life?
I got all the guns.
He's like, we should run. She's like, where are we going to run?
We're on Tatooine. Nobody runs on Tatooine.
She's like, nah, we'll take this time before she arrives to strap up and take our positions. It's over, Reva. We have the high ground.
You underestimate my power. You underestimate my plot armor.
Owen has a point blank shot at her, just misses.
Yeah. Was Owen a stormtrooper?
And then it's on.
Yeah.
There's a scuffle. This isn't really a fight. It's more of a scuffle.
Right.
Reva's chasing Owen and all the way around, and then it looks like it's curtains for Uncle Owen, but we got to see him in A New Hope, so he's going to be fine. Luke gets out through that little roof bit, and he runs into the desert. Reva's like, chases him into the desert, and then we cut back to Obi-Wan, and he's like, all right, it's go time.
Yeah.
Force pushes his way out of the rocks. Vader's leaving, and then he's like, he's behind me, isn't he?
Yeah. Ooh, more fight ensues, and then
Obi-Wan just goes bananas.
This is and then this again, just talking about Luke from The Mandalorian season 2 finale, this is probably the most powerful we've ever seen Obi-Wan.
Yeah, he is.
Oh my god,
hammering! He force pushes him across the whole plane.
Yeah.
You've never seen Vader dominated like this.
No.
Besides maybe episode 6.
Right.
At the end.
But that was the chosen one of chosen ones in Luke Skywalker.
And Vader is older at that point.
Right.
This is prime Darth Vader.
He's 32 years old.
And Obi-Wan just sends him across.
He sends him, and I talked about it last time.
You've never seen Vader dominated like this.
Again, and we recorded last week before, the day before this finale, Luke, Obi-Wan has never lost to Vader, and I think there's something very poetic about that. The fact that he'll never lose to him.
You see Vader dominate in a way, and it frames his powers from earlier in the show in a really great way, because you see how powerful he is, and then Obi-Wan just ascends above that, and he's just hammering away with them, and then he does the whoop with all the rocks, just starts, he's like, you want to bury me under rocks? Watch this. I'm going to hit you with every freaking rock on this planet.
Oh, it's so good, and then he just starts smashing his chest plate.
does the Bane, like the Dark Knight Rises.
So he can't breathe, and then it happens.
Slashes his back at one point, and then
it happens.
Does like a little like a wall run. And then, boom!
He says, "Shout out Cal Kestis, wall run."
Wall run comes down like right across Vader's face, cracks the mask open,
and this was enough to make grown men cry.
Yeah, it's a really emotional scene.
Oh my gosh! This guy can act, man.
You see Hayden Christensen. They do the Clone Wars bit with Ahsoka and Anakin. It's basically the same thing, where he sees Anakin for the first time, like, you know, actually sees him, and he's like, oh my god, like Anakin. And then, you know, Hayden Christensen does the most with what he has. He's like, gosh. Anakin is gone. I'm what remains. And it's interspersed with the Darth Vader voice. And then Obi-Wan just breaks, and he's like, I'm sorry for everything.
But this is the big piece of this. What's more important than is he tells him, like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker.
You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. And
I did.
And it's like it's his way of being like, I'm fully evil, but at the same time, like, almost absolving Obi-Wan of his guilt. He's like, I did this to myself.
Yeah, and the way they use the colors is so good, because when it starts out, he's kind of drenched in the blue from Obi-Wan's lightsaber while he's talking, and then once he said that, and he didn't kill me, like, his lightsaber kind of takes over, and then you see the anger come out again. Yeah. It's really well done.
I am not your failure, no. Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
Yells out the Obi-Wan.
And he goes, I will, just like, I'm going to destroy you. And then Obi-Wan goes, all right.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
You're gone.
Yeah.
Like, then my friend is truly dead. Mirroring the Return of the Jedi, then my father is truly dead. And he walks away. Like, nothing pisses Anakin off more than being walked away from.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan's like, see you later, Darth, which is setting up for what he calls him in A New Hope.
Right.
And Anakin is just shrieking, Obi-Wan!
Right. And then it's real sad with Luke and Reva, so just to end that real quick, she sees Luke unconscious.
Well, because she pulls him like, off a cliff.
Yeah, and then she's about to strike me down, and I will become more powerful than ever. She's about to strike him down, and then she sees herself. She sees herself in Luke, so obviously she can feel the fact that he's Force sentenced. She can feel the fact that he's also...
Yeah, and Obi-Wan feels like Luke being in danger, so he hoofs it back to Tatooine.
Beelines it for Tatooine.
Vader going... We don't see Vader go back to the ship, but I imagine he's looking real sad.
Yeah. Don't touch me. You're like, they gotta help him? Don't
Grand Inquisitor had to put a towel over his head to, like, shuffle him into the ship.
Yeah, don't look.
Is that Lord Vader? Nope.
Nope. It's Lord Cater. It's not the same guy.
Don't worry about this. And then, yeah, they're looking for Luke in the desert, and then Reva appears with Luke's limp body in her arms, and you're like, oh no, did she just kill Luke Skywalker? No, of course not. She lays him down, he wakes back up, and Owen's like, grabs him, and...
They did what they should have done with Kylo Ren with Reva in this show.
Yeah, and she just has like a total breakdown. She's like, "Am I the monster?" And Obi-Wan's like, "No, like you showed mercy. Like that's you're not him. Like you made that decision to not be him." And she's like, "So what do I do now?" And Obi-Wan's like, "That's for the writers to decide, not me."
And then somehow General Palpatine returns.
So yeah, Vader's there, got his mask fixed.
He's probably got, like, you know how SpongeBob has like a million pants, like he's just got masks for days.
Palpatine in the most like relaxed.
He's like a cool dad. He's like, what's going on, man?
He's like, you okay, bro? And
yeah.
like, I'm fine, Dad.
Don't talk to me right now.
He's like, are you sure you're good? Because Obi-Wan kind of kicked your ass back there. He's like, no, he didn't.
He's like, you seem agitated, my friend. I am agitated.
Yeah. I just got forced. Remember that time Yoda pushed you over your butt?
Yeah.
In the throne room?
Yeah.
The same thing happened to me.
Didn't feel so good, did it?
And I got my head caved in.
Yeah, it sucks.
And he's like, look, we got bigger plans. And Vader's like, I know. Well, and then the Imperial March plays for the first time, I think, in the show. And then Obi-Wan is he's packing up, and Owen's like, hey, man, do you want to talk to the kid? And then it happened.
They did the thing.
Hello there. And that's all we get.
Yeah.
Because they had to get that in at some point. And then Obi-Wan's, clip-clopping through the thing, ride it like a bantha, as Boba Fett would say.
And guess what?
Oh, dude!
Guess what? He's back.
A Force Ghost appears. Liam Neeson returns.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so amazing. I loved it. It pays off, like, from the whole show, because Obi-Wan this whole time is trying to connect with Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon finally appears, and he's like, hello, Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm here. And he's like, I thought you'd never come. And he's like, I was always here, Obi-Wan. You just weren't ready to see.
Yeah.
And he's like, come on, we've got a long way to go. Implying that if we do get a second season, that Qui-Gon would be more involved.
I would assume that Liam Neeson would probably say yes to something like that.
Well, he said, in an interview that he wouldn't want anyone else to play Qui-Gon, so
right.
He kind of piped up and was like, hey, if you're going to put Qui-Gon in this thing, I'm in.
Yeah.
He looked great.
He did. He looked still the same, it just feels the same. It's like that old Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, as I told you, as a child of the prequels, this episode was everything to me. It was so well done, and it goes beyond just the fan serviciness. It's just a really well constructed finale, and I'm curious to see where they go from here.
Yeah,
especially with Reva.
Yeah, I think that Reva might be somebody that shows up in different, whatever's interspersed in between the original trilogy.
Team her up with your boy Cal Kestis.
Possibly, it would be really interesting that Reva is like, hey, I want to get back to where I was when I was a Jedi, and that would help.
Cal team up with a former Inquisitor.
That would be a really interesting dynamic for Cal as well, and I could see Cal in this new game, kind of maybe leaning into some of his darker impulses. That would be kind of interesting, and then Reva being there might not help. And also, I'm forgetting her name. The character, his fake love interest in Fallen Order.
Oh, the not Death Sister. Is it Night Sister?
Yeah, one of the Night Sisters. There's a whole bunch of dark energy around Cal that he's trying to, escape. Yeah. And that would be interesting if he does take a turn.
Oh, and also there's a really great send-off with Obi-Wan and Leia also.
Oh my God. So it kind of deals with, he tells her, hey, I know I can't tell you exactly who your parents are, because we do get that in episode 3. She kind of asks, are you my father? And he's just like, no, but...
I wish I was.
Yeah, I wish I was. This would probably make this a whole lot easier.
Yeah. But then he tells her, you have all these wonderful traits from your mother and your father. He says, you get all these things, your tenacity, your willingness to do good. These are all things you get from your father. And it's really good.
Yeah.
It's a really good send-off. We say goodbye to Jimmy Smits.
Yeah. Peace out, Jimmy Smits.
See you when Alderaan explodes.
I'll never get over Alderaan.
And that's it. That's the show in a nutshell. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's not a perfect show. I probably do prefer The Mandalorian to this, but who cares? This is such a...
I think the highs of this reach higher than the highs of The Mandalorian.
Right, yeah. And that's a great point. The highs of this are just intoxicating. It's just such this payoff and this satisfaction of the prequel trilogy. Those characters that you fell in love with. I mean,
the finale does that in spades.
Right. You're a literal child of the prequels. I had the prequels before I had the new trilogy, the sequel trilogy. These characters you fall in love with. And again, it just lends so much to the fall of Anakin Skywalker. Being
I didn't know how much I missed Qui-Gon before I saw him again.
Oh my gosh. You must train the boy.
And he'll be back as in the next season of Visions. We're going to get a little Qui-Gon kind of thing that I think Liam Neeson is doing.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool.
Right. I personally don't think this show needs another season.
I don't think it does either. I think you can spin this off with Reva and then just leave Vader and Obi-Wan where they are.
Right.
But...
Money.
Get that money, son. I would not be surprised.
Because this show's season finale had 1.8 million viewers, which was 20% more than the Mandalorian season finale.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I said the Mandalorian. I meant Book of Boba Fett.
I wouldn't be surprised if this generates another season or some type of Darth Vader one-shot kind of story with Hayden Christensen that we might get.
Right.
Maybe you get some closure with him and Padme of some sort that you see that they do in the comics. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Really enjoyed this show. It was such a... Man, I'm telling you, when they fought in episode 6, you feel it. And even more, episode 3, where he drags him through the fire, I think this one hits the emotional beats probably the best in Star Wars, period.
Yeah.
This is some of the best, somber moments that you'll ever get.
Yep. Totally agreed. We gotta get out of here.
Yeah. We gotta go. You gotta get out of here, man.
You gotta get out of here, man.
Jim Gordon, the GOAT. He said, trust you, man? I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, so we're just gonna wrap it up here, I guess.
I think that's it.
Next week.
Hold on, because it's somebody's birthday, and you didn't think I was gonna let this happen, but I did it. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Shout out to the best co-host and trust me, I looked for co-hosts. I spanned the multiverse for co-hosts. I couldn't find anybody. And lo and behold, I found my pseudo Ewan McGregor walking down the street. And guess what? We're 49 episodes in.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So next week is our 50th episode.
Yeah. What that might look like, who knows?
Well, we're going to talk about Thor a bit.
Yeah, we will talk about Thor.
Next week.
Yeah.
But what we segue with that, who knows?
Yeah.
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 So
All right.
follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, follow us on all the stuff.
Follow us on the socials.
Yeah.
Twitter, Project_INF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram.
At the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you. You can not follow us, but listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, basically wherever you get
iHeartRadio, your grandmother's radio. And
we are there. Next week, we're going to preview Thor, and maybe we'll do a little something special for our 50th episode.
Daredevil.
But we're going to definitely be previewing Thor Love and Thunder, because that is out next week.
Wow. You always say it. It's so far away, and then it happens.
Yep. So from me, from the Jimmy Smiths of the podcast.
Yes! I'll take it. Bail Organa, I'll take it. Bail Organa is like an all-around good dude. And I'm going to reverse that back to you because it's your birthday. The Obi-Wan Kenobi of this whole thing. The guy that keeps this all together and keeps this thing going.
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace.